What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the 2024 Chevy Trailblazer Active. So the 2024 Trailblazer here has been refreshed for 2024, so you're going to see a couple new stylings and some new equipment both inside and out. If we start up front here, you'll notice that the front fascia has gotten a complete refresh over the previous model year. This front end looks almost identical to the 2024 Chevy Blazer, so they're really just trying to unify the lineup and make everything very cohesive, and really then you're just choosing between styles and price points rather than distinct look and feel. So some people are going to like that, some people aren't. But you have the same kind of headlight design, you have the same kind of front grille design. It's a pretty compact front grille with just some little glossy accents on this mostly matte grille. Black Chevy bow tie. You do have this satin gray piece that runs across the front, and then you have your really low profile LED running lights and turn signals, and then you have your LED regular beams down below. You also have LED tail lights on this model, but you don't have any fog lights, as you can see here. You do have a little bit of faux carbon fiber, some more gray accents, a little satin lip at the bottom, and a lot of body colored little interjections here that make it very intricate and a nicely designed front end. Basically, the entire lineup of Chevy SUVs has this very distinct kind of front end. I really like it. I think it looks really, really nice. Now, under the hood of the Trailblazer, you're going to have two different engine options, a 1.2 liter turbocharged inline 3-cylinder and a 1.3 liter turbocharged inline 3-cylinder. The 1.2 liter turbo is going to have 137 horsepower, 162 pound-feet of torque, and that's going to be paired with a CVT transmission. Here on this Active, we have the 1.3 liter turbocharged inline 3-cylinder. That's going to have 155 horsepower, 174 pound-feet of torque. Then on top of that, you have two different drivetrain options. On the 1.3 liter, you can have the front wheel drive only, which was going to get 33 miles per gallon highway, 29 miles per gallon city, or optional all-wheel drive, which this Active does have, and that's going to bring your miles per gallon down a little bit to 29 miles per gallon highway, 26 miles per gallon city. So a lot of different options there, but basically you're choosing between a 1.2 liter turbo and a 1.3 liter turbo. My preference is always going to be at least the 1.3 liter, so you get that extra horsepower. Another thing that's new here for 2024 is that we have two new color options. One of them is called Copper Harbor. I'll have a picture on screen here, and the other one is Cacti Green, and that is what we have right here on this one, and I absolutely love this color. It's like kind of a seafoamy green color, really subtle and nice. I've seen it on a few other models. They really showed it off when the new Trax came out, and I liked it then. So to see it in person here, I think it's really nice. When it's in the shade, it looks a little bit more blue, but then when you get it in the sun, you can really see those green hues kind of pop out, and I think it looks really nice. This one is also paired with the white mirror caps and the white roof here with the black roof rails that you get on that Active trim, and it rides on these 17-inch machined aluminum two-tone alloy wheel. They look really nice. Black Chevy bow tie in the center, some black cladding that runs around. Like I said, that cacti green, beautiful color here. If we move on back, you do have these white mirror caps, like I mentioned. They don't have integrated turn signals. They are manual folding, but they are heated and they have blind spot monitoring built in. Keyless access here on the door panels, just with this little silver button here. Up top, like I mentioned, black roof rails, and then this white roof that is a really nice contrast here. It makes it look really unique. I like the look of it. And you do have a 2-pane tilting and sliding panoramic sunroof up top. Now moving to the back of the Trailblazer here, a couple things are going to stand out. You do have a little bit of a spoiler here that is white like the rest of the roof to keep stuff off your back windshield. Nice rear tinted glass with a wiper. Now there is wiper fluid all over the back of this, so it makes it look a little bit more grimed up than it would normally look. But you do have a black Chevy bow tie here and LED taillights, like I mentioned. Not a lot of intricate designs on them. They're nice and simplified, but it is nice to have LED ones at least. Then you've got your Trailblazer badging here, all-wheel drive optional, as I mentioned. You do have it here, and then your Active badging on the side here. Then you do have some parking sensors dotted around here, and then a little bit more of that satin gray accents. And then you do have dual exhaust tips that are active, which is always nice to have. I've always thought the back end is a little funny in how it just is like body colored and then it just drops off and turns into nothing. It's almost like this area down here is just nothing, even though your plate is there, obviously. It's just a funny look, but it is a power liftgate, which is always nice to have on something at this price point. So we can push that. It'll lift right up. Another funny thing is that the rear view camera is down there at the bottom, so you almost can't see it at all, which some people might like. Now we have access to this gigantic trunk space here for a vehicle this size. Absolutely amazing. So much space for all of your gear you could possibly need. You've got some pockets there on the side as well. Some lights there, hooks as well. Up underneath your carpeted mat here, you do have a spare tire as well and all of your tools. And there's some nice extra storage space underneath this floor as well. If you want to take the spare tire out or you just want to, store some stuff around it, you have the space to do that. And I'll have all cargo dimensions on screen for you with the rear seats up. And then you can push these little switches here, shove these second row seats down to get access to even more cargo space here. You really get a lot of space for something this size. It's impressive. Then you've got a little button up here that you can drop your tailgate back down and we can hop inside. All right, so hopping inside the cabin here, a couple things are going to stand out. One are the updated displays, and we'll get to those in just a sec. Another one is the seating surfaces, and we'll get to that as well. But let's go ahead and just work our way around and talk about everything that we have here in this cabin. So starting here on the door panels, as far as the materials go, you have a hard touch plastic up top, some nice contrast bits here with some gloss black, and then a little satin piece as well. More black plastic under that. Then you do have kind of this fabric material, which we'll talk about in a sec, because you do have it over on the seating surfaces as well with some of that yellow accent trim. Then you have some rubber on the door handles and then basically plastic from here on out. So, you're talking about a vehicle that's somewhere in that starting price of $28,000. This one works its way up to around $34,000. So overall, the cabin material quality is going to be a little bit lower than you might see on some higher priced vehicles. But I still am a little let down by the fact that you don't even have any kind of soft touch rubber or any cloth or anything up top. You just have basically hard plastic all the way across the front of the dash as well. Everything feels pretty solid though. Not a lot of creaks and cracks when you push on anything or squeeze anything. That's always a good sign, even on a lower price vehicle like this. Like I said, the hard touch plastic runs across the top of the dash, but then under that you do have a little bit of some textured plastic, more of those little accents I mentioned with the satin and the black plastic, and then more of that yellow accent stitching runs all the way across the dash, and then everything from about knees down is hard touch black plastic. You do have a leather wrapped heated steering wheel, which is always nice. You have some contrast stitching on there as well. Black Chevy bow tie on the center, and then a little bit of a chrome accent at the bottom of the wheel. Your light controls are over on the left side, and then you have some vents here with a cool little tab here for opening and closing and adjusting there. Light and wiper stalks in your normal places. Buttons on the back of the steering wheel for controlling your media and your volume. Past that, you do have an 8-inch driver information cluster, fully digital cluster there. It looks really nice. It's Chevy's most up-to-date graphics package as well. You've seen it on almost everything now. It's on the updated tracks. It's on the Silverado. You've got it on the Blazer EV. All of the modern Chevy vehicles are going to have this updated display. Whether they actually have it yet or not, or if it's coming soon, is yet to be determined, but you do have it here on the Trailblazer as well. Now, one thing I have found that's interesting on these lower tier models is that you still get the same driver information cluster and infotainment displays, but they really limit what actual functionality these displays have. But not a lot of customization here on this 8-inch digital information cluster. But if we move on over from the 8-inch driver information cluster, you have an 11-inch infotainment system. Now, this is Chevy's most up-to-date system. So they give you all of the same look and technology on all these different Chevy models, high and low end. But one thing that they do is that they limit the actual functionality of the infotainment display itself. If we were to look at something like the Silverado, like I've got a clip here on screen of that infotainment system, you can see how many different little app icons there are. And then we flash over here to the Trailblazer, and you really have 4 things. Wi-Fi hotspot's its own thing, settings is its own thing, climate control is its own thing, and then really you could combine Android Auto and Apple CarPlay into one thing, which is just phone projection, but they've got it split up. So really, that is all that you're working with here. Also, of course, you have access to your rear vision camera as well on this display. You can get to things like radio and music by hitting the music tab, but that doesn't even show up on the home screen. And then you can get to things like your maintenance and gauges and trip calculator with another button. But actually, things that are actually on screen, it's super limited. And I think that's okay. I think it looks clean, and I think people will appreciate it because I think these are probably the things that people are going to use the most. So they've kind of cut the home screen down, made it less cluttered. And I hope that we see this going forward on a lot of other vehicle displays because I think it's just better this way. You don't need all those apps because most people don't use all of them. But I have a secret features video coming out soon for the Trailblazer. It may already be out by the time you're watching this video, so check the link down in the description if you want to learn all the hidden features inside of this system. But if we move on down from that, you have 2 vents here, more satin accents, and then you have your single zone automatic climate control system right here. That is a feature that we optioned on to this active trim. If we move down from that, you have this interesting little I/O area. So you've got these side barriers with a little bit of a textured kind of netting almost look through them, but it is plastic. 12-volt outlet there, 1 USB-C, 1 USB-A, and then Qi-enabled wireless charging pad right there for compatible devices. Past that, you have a whole little suite of buttons here. One is for your auto start stop engine disable, one is for your lane keeping assist, one is for your traction control on and off, one is for a sport mode, and then one is to turn your all-wheel drive on and off. Past that, you have a pretty normal little center console area. You have a leather appointed shift knob here with leather at the bottom as well. Little Chevy bow tie underneath there, and then your manual mode buttons on the side. This works with your 9-speed automatic transmission. 2 cup holders, and then a little slot that you could put a phone in. Mine just barely doesn't fit, but if you have a smaller phone than a Pro Max, it'll probably fit. Electronic parking brake past that, and I'm happy to say while there is still a glossy little texture around the center console area, it's not piano black plastic and doesn't show dust and fingerprints as badly as that does. So there's a plus there. You have a little pocket past that as well, and then inside your center console, there's a free screwdriver. Doesn't come with every model, just this one. And then you have a little tray here that you can take out if you need extra storage space, and then down there you have a nice deep pocket for additional storage. Now, as far as these seating surfaces go, these are Chevy's EvoTex synthetic leather seating surface. They feel really nice, and the active trim has a little bit of yellow accent stitching, some yellow piping on the side, and then you do have this little fabric kind of accent on the sides. It's the same thing you have over here on the door panels, but it's on the seating surface, and then you have the active word mark that's on the headrest as well. The driver is a 10-way power adjustable seat with lumbar. The passenger is a 4-way manually adjustable seat, but the driver and passenger are both heated. Now up top you do have this nice black headliner, and then you have your controls for putting back your panoramic sunroof and sliding the power shade back, which is nice. Auto dimming rearview mirror here. It's kind of a little dinky rearview mirror here, not the most premium look to it, but functional for what you need it for. And then you do also have a Bose premium audio system here on the Active as well. So hopping into the back seats here, the first thing that you're going to notice is the leg room. You can tuck your feet well up underneath the seats to get extra space. And I've got this seat pretty far back, not anywhere near where I'd sit as 6'1", and I've already got maybe like 1.5 to 2 inches of legroom, and the seats kind of arc in to give you that additional knee space. Headroom is not amazing, but you do have this panoramic roof, which gives you a little more kind of an airy feel to the cabin, but you do have some nice convenience features like map pockets on both of your driver and passenger seats. Definitely check out my secret features video if you want to know more about this passenger seat. Down here you have a full-size outlet for things like a laptop or a larger charger, and then you have a USB-C port and a USB-A port. The door panels are pretty minimal as far as materials goes. It's pretty much just hard black plastic all the way through, just one stamped mold there. The seats are pretty comfortable too. I wouldn't say they're the most comfortable because they're kind of in a pretty harsh upright position, but nonetheless they are decently comfortable. You do have this center console here that folds down for an armrest and 2 additional cup holders as well. 2 adults back here should be fine, a little cramped. 3 kids should be fine. You don't have a huge transmission hump, but it is there. 3 adults, it's really going to be pushing it, but for short-term, purposes, you could definitely do it. But I would say stick with max 2 adults, 3 kids. All right, let's take the Trailblazer here for a little test drive. Talk about some of the things that I like, some of the things I don't like, the usability, the comfort, the convenience, all those kind of things. Let's get a little acceleration test first and foremost. So that's definitely not slow, but it doesn't pin you back or anything like that. I think it's what you'd consider adequate by the exact definition of the word. It's effective enough to pass and effective enough to accelerate when need be, but it's not going to blow you away at that 1.3 liter turbo 155 174 mark. It's just not what it's meant to be. But I have driven the 1.2 liter and it definitely feels better than that. So I would recommend, if you're going to get the Trailblazer, definitely go ahead and try and get one that has the 1.3 liter turbo. Let's go ahead and use the adaptive cruise control, test that out. It's not going to do any kind of lane centering or anything like that. It does have lane keeping, so it'll alert you when you're leaving a lane, but it's not going to do any kind of auto steering or anything like that. This is simply an adaptive cruise system, and unfortunately there's no vehicles close enough enough to me to where it's gonna actually slow me down. You can kind of see it guiding me a little bit back into the lane a little bit. It'll drift a little bit too much, so I wouldn't use this at all in kind of a semi-autonomous way. It's not like that at all. But I really do find this screen to be pretty effective. Again, it's pretty limited on what you can actually do on here. You just have wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, on-screen climate, and then your settings essentially. And of course the rear view camera. You know, you can use the radio, like I said, by using this button, but I like how simplified this is. Some people might not, some people might like a lot of icons and things. I just don't. I prefer it to be as clean as possible. So I think this is effective in the way they choose to do it. What I don't like as much is how simplified this gauge cluster is. I like having a digital display. You guys know that if you've watched these videos for a while on this channel. I love digital displays, but this one is almost like too simple to a fault where you can't customize anything. And I wish there was a little bit more customization options there. As far as everything else in the cabin, like I said, the seats are actually surprisingly comfortable for being a not real leather and just a synthetic leather. I think they feel really good. They feel bolstered, they feel sporty. They're not the best seats I've ever sat in, but for this price point, I think they're up there. And of course you do have power lumbar support on the driver's seat here, which is always welcome, and power adjustable options as well for driver. I will say this is not the most quiet cabin that I've ever driven in. I think you can kind of effectively hear road noise. I don't know if it's coming through on camera very well, but it's not noisy, like loud, but it just lets in more noise than some of the other cabins at this price point. Just something to keep in mind. That may not matter to you at all. As far as the appearance goes though, I really do like the look of the Trailblazer. I like that they've redesigned the front end to make it a little bit less kind of quirky and a little bit more in line with everything else that Chevy's done. Now, some people may completely disagree with me. Some people might like having unique grills for each of the different nameplates at a given make, but it doesn't really matter to me. I really like the look of the Blazer, so I'm glad that they adjusted this to fit. And also, I'm a big fan of this cacti green color. Again, that's totally personal preference. Y'all might not like it, but I actually kind of like it. Again, as far as the acceleration, it's not gonna blow you away. As far as the cabin noise, it's a little bit loud. As far as the steering responsiveness, I think it handles actually pretty well for being as kind of boxy as it is. I haven't had any issues when I've been taking it around curves. I haven't really noticed anything. Like, it's felt responsive and fluid, and really no issues there. Let's get a brake test here now that we're stopping. Yeah, I think the brakes are pretty strong too. Let's put it into sport mode here and see if we get any kind of different acceleration curve here that's noticeable. I feel like you definitely get a different response there. Again, the acceleration still doesn't blow you away, but that definitely feels better than the standard acceleration curve. I'll give it credit for this little Trailblazer for having a little 1.3 liter. It sounds kind of nasty. I like it. But yeah, overall, I think where you're really going to notice the price point at around $34,000 is the interior materials. You know, having that smaller 1.3 liter engine. Nonetheless, you still get some pretty comfortable seating surfaces, some nice technology with that adaptive cruise, and these 8 and 11-inch displays, wireless charging, you know, 120 volt outlet in the back, a lot of cargo carrying capability in a vehicle that's this size, and you get a nice panoramic dual pane sunroof. For $34,000, I think the Trailblazer is not that bad of a deal. Oh, and not to mention, you do have a power liftgate. You just don't get that on this segment all the time. So I would definitely go with the Active or the RS trim if you want something a little bit more sporty. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Drop a like in the video if you loved it. Tell me in the comments down below, what do you think about the 2024 Chevy Trailblazer Active? Are you gonna pick one up? Do you like this cacti green color? Do you hate the cacti green color? Let's have a conversation down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to be among the first to see every single new video the second I hit publish. We'll see you in the next one.